Presented by the 2018 Honda Civic Type R. Like no Honda you've ever seen.
Getting ready for the second game of this series between the Orioles and the Blue Jays with the roof open here at Rogers Center. Although it's a bit cloudy, the lights are on as we start this game here at 1 o'clock. Man, Buck Showalter is having a tough go of it this season. They are 28-70. They've got the worst record in baseball. Here is the lineup for the Orioles today. And even when Chris Davis is not going well, and he's not going well, he seems to do some damage against the Blue Jays. Hit another home run in last night's game. And Trey Mancini brings some big numbers into this game against today's starter, Marcus Stroman.
Marcus on the mound. This is his 13th start of the season and his first start against the Baltimore Orioles. He's coming off that game against the Boston Red Sox on the 15th when he lost for the 7th time this season. 3 earned runs, 5 hits over 5 innings against the Red Sox. For his career, he's pitched well against Baltimore. He does have a losing record against the Orioles at 3-4, but his ERA respectable at 4.13. In the on-base percentage against them, just .291 against the Orioles. That's 9 career starts overall versus Baltimore. So gets the start today, trying to do what Sam Gaviglio did yesterday, pitch into the 8th inning. He was very effective, and they're very similar type of pitchers.
Yeah, career-long start for Gaviglio, 7 2/3 innings. Although he was denied the win, the Blue Jays picked it up in extra innings, and his wife and baby are in town, so he enjoyed having that kind of an outing in front of family. A look at the defense, and again, Randal Grichuk is in center field.
Yeah, with Kevin Pillar on the disabled list for the next 4 weeks or so, Grichuk is going to slide over and play the majority of the games in center field, and he has not looked out of place. He made a play in yesterday's game, looked very comfortable going back on the ball, and I think this is his natural position, and he looked pretty good so far in his 3 starts there.
Luke Maile behind the plate this afternoon, and Joe West is calling the balls and strikes as Tim Beckham steps in to get it started for Baltimore. Stroman's first outing of the year against the Orioles starts with a swing and a foul back, 0-1. Beckham, we talked about him a lot last night. He's moved over to shortstop in the wake of the trade of Manny Machado. He had been playing third base and had a tough night last night. Was charged with 1 error, conceivably could have been charged with 2 others in the 10th inning, but there were no errors assessed on the play. And it kind of feels like, I mean, he's not an old guy, but a former first overall pick. He's never really gotten his footing at the major league level, and Tabby, he's got a couple of months here maybe to prove himself and see if the Orioles want him going forward.
Yeah, they think he can be an everyday shortstop, and they're going to throw him out there for the rest of the season at shortstop and see what they have, because they really don't have a replacement in their farm system. After they traded Machado, there's really nobody on the horizon that they can plug in there right away, so Beckham's their man.
Stroman out in front of ball and 2 strikes. And jams him with a fastball that gets fouled back. A lot of different pitches, of course, for Marcus Stroman. A lot of options for Luke Maile behind the plate.
Yeah, a lot of different pitches and a lot of different release points and deliveries to the plate. You'll watch him hesitate. It's interesting, the first pitch of the ball game was a quick pitch. There was no windup. It was just a gather and go type of thing.
Slider down and away, 2-2.
I think that's the key for Marcus to be effective, especially against the Orioles. Got to be able to get that breaking ball over, and when he's spinning a good breaking ball, that's when he has good outings.
Off the end of the bat into shallow left center field, and it drops in for a base hit. Just didn't hit it hard enough for it to carry out to the outfielders.
Well, it's really interesting. In his last start, Marcus Stroman was up against the Boston Red Sox, and they are excellent fastball hitters. So he went to plan B, if you will. The last start, he used his slider a lot more. Almost 35% of his pitches in that last start against the Red Sox were sliders. That's been a problem for him this year, a pitch that he really hasn't been able to master this year, the slider. He's at times had to go back to curveball.
Yep.
And not use the slider, but last time felt pretty good to him.
Mixes in a cutter, changeup as well. A year that began with some shoulder inflammation. Pitched well, remember, at the end of spring training in Montreal. Started the season, then it acted up on him again. Missed some more time, about 5-6 weeks. This is his 6th start since coming back from the DL. The numbers overall have been significantly better since returning from the DL than prior. This ball laced down the left field line, and it's off the wall on the fly. On his way to third is Beckham. On his way to second is Scope, and he is thrown out by Teoscar Hernandez.
Well, Teoscar Hernandez will pick up the outfield assist. It'll be his 8th of the season. And what I like about Hernandez is he didn't get ahead of himself. He just took his time, made sure he got the ball off the wall in plenty of time. This should have been a single because Scope should have held up, but he's going to take advantage of his aggressiveness. See how he takes his time and accurately throws a one-hop strike to Travis to pick up the outfield assist. Wayne Kirby, it looked like the first base coach was telling Scope to stay right there. He's telling him to stay, but he thinks he can make it, and he is out.
So a big play by Hernandez for the first out of the afternoon. A runner at third, 1 down. The Blue Jays will play the infield back and concede a run on a ground ball. Adam Jones in conversation with somebody, as he normally is when he's out there on the field. And now the longtime Orioles center fielder, hitting .275, digs in.
I just like how Teoscar took his time there and didn't get ahead of himself. Just take your time, make a good play. Communication becomes very important on plays like that. He's going back to the wall, making the play. Someone's got to tell him where to throw the ball. It looked like Diaz let him know where to throw it, and it's a big out.
And a base hit through the right side for Jones will bring in Beckham and to give the Orioles a 1-0 lead. So Stroman's given up a hit to all 3 batters that he's faced so far. Does have the 1 out, but a run in and an early lead here for Baltimore.
1 to center, 1 to left, and now 1 to right as Jones picks on the right side of the infield. He'll pick up his 37th RBI. He's got to get the ball down. Right now, Marcus's pitches are up. Got to be able to get that ball down. He'll get his ground balls.
Here's Mark Trumbo, big power hitter. The DH for the Orioles. And there's a well-located fastball down at the knees for a called strike. Trumbo missed the first month of the season with a quad injury. Has a dozen homers on the season and is 7 for 17 in his career against Marcus Stroman. And a ground ball to Travis. The flip to Diaz, 1 back to first, dug out by Smoke for the double play. Just what Stroman needed. Got a ball down, got a ground ball, got a double play, and it gets the defense off the field. The Orioles do get a run, but nothing more after this 4-6-3 double play. Look at the lineup that manager John Gibbons has going for the club this afternoon, including Randall Grichuk, who has moved up to the 5 spot in the lineup. He's hit a lot of 7th. He's hitting 5th today. Hit a home run yesterday and very good numbers this year against Baltimore. Devin Travis had himself an RBI triple, also drew a walk in last night's game, and he has been hot recently.
Been hitting the ball with authority to right field. They will face Alex Cobb this afternoon, and Cobb, it's been a disaster since signing a free agent contract with the Baltimore Orioles in the 17 starts. This is a guy who has won double digits 4 times when he was with the Tampa Bay Rays, but this year he hasn't been able to get on track, and I think a lot of it has to go back to the time he was injured. This basically all of 15, all of 16 with Tommy John injuries, and right now I think he's just trying to re-find himself, find his delivery where he can throw the ball where he needs to.
He faces a guy to begin his afternoon who's had some good success against him. Curtis Granderson is 5 for 12 with a homer. He's also drawn 5 walks against Cobb. Not normal to see Granderson in their day game after night game in the outfield both days. You've also got Dwight Smith on the roster. He could play, but Granderson with some numbers on Cobb. Alex Cobb also was one of these guys, Tabby, who didn't sign a free agent deal during the winter, actually rode it into spring training. He's one of the guys working out with other free agents. He didn't sign with the Orioles till March 21st, so got a late start to the season. You know, was he game ready? Didn't really have a spring training per se.
Yeah, and I think that was another reason why he's gotten off to a tough start. Last time out, though, he pitched into the 7th inning against Texas. Second start of the season without issuing a walk, and I think that's the big thing you start to look for from guys coming back from injuries. Can they command and control their pitches?
Joe West says Granderson went around. No argument from Curtis. 1 down. And a chance to look at the defense behind Alex Cobb this afternoon.
And let him down in yesterday's ball game, but that guy out in center field, he comes to play every day. He's played 90 of 98 games in center field this year for the Orioles. Tough to get him out of the line. Remember, he fouled a ball off of his top of his foot yesterday and was hobbling around towards the end of the game. Tough to get him out of the lineup. He's a 4-time Gold Glove winner. Loves to play the game.
Teoscar Hernandez lines one off Beckham, recovers, throws to first to get him 2 down. I don't know if that knuckled on him or if he just misjudged it, but he stayed with it to make the play.
Well, when Teoscar gets out in front of the ball, he has the ability to top the ball, and the ball really can handcuff an infielder like that. He gets a lot of topspin on the baseball when he hits it. I don't know if it knuckled, but it looked more like it topspin and really handcuffed Beckham. Watch the ball as it comes off the bat, how he gets on top of it, and there's that hard arc on the ball. But he doesn't panic and gets the out over at first.
And 2 down here in the bottom of the first for Justin Smoke. Smoke is looking for his first ever career base hit against Alex Cobb. He's 0 for 13 against him. And he faces the shift as he so often does, with Beckham the shortstop around to the right side of the infield. Nunez the third baseman alone on the left side.
You know, we mentioned it in last night's game. Scope in this shift plays as deep as anybody. StatCast AI is powered by AWS, and there's Jonathan Scope in short right field. Beckham, the shortstop, just slides over. Nunez, the third baseman, he's now at straightaway shortstop.
And a ground ball back to the mound. An easy play for Cobb, and a 1-2-3 inning, needing only 8 pitches to get the Blue Jays in order in the bottom of the first.
Series opener. Not only did he record the best outing of his big league career, he had 2 VIPs in the stands to witness it all. Gaviglio's wife Elena and 1-month-old daughter Livia made the trip to Toronto from Oregon. Elena texted this picture to her husband after he exited last night's ball game. Gaviglio said when he got word he was starting out of the break, he made sure to bring the family to Toronto while he prepared for his outing. His all-star break consisted of renting a condo and borrowing furniture for a makeshift nursery. Gaviglio said FaceTime is great, but you can't hold her or change diapers. He said you don't experience firsthand the struggles of being a first-time parent when you're away. Now that they're here, Dan Gaviglio tells me his mind is at ease, greater sense of security, and you get to know your daughter a little better. She's holding her head up on her own, a milestone Gaviglio is grateful to have witnessed in person.
Yeah, he's a low-key guy, but if you want to see as big a smile as Sam Gaviglio is capable of, ask him about his daughter. And his wife and daughter will be here for his next start against Minnesota on the last day of this homestand. That's Wednesday afternoon. And then they'll be out in Seattle, too, for the last stop of the road trip because he's got family out there. As Hazel mentioned, he's from Oregon, but has family in Seattle as well. So some good family time for Gaviglio, and he was really good. If you didn't see any of the game and you just look online and you see 4 runs in 7 2/3, that does not tell the story at all of how well Gaviglio pitched.
Not at all. I mean, he was using that two-seam fastball very effectively, and he changed in the middle of the game, started using his changeup a little bit more. I mean, that's what they needed.
And a swing and a miss. Stroman gets Chris Davis to swing over the top of that slider. 1 down. First strikeout of the afternoon for Stroman. 1-0 Baltimore as you get a look at Davis chasing down and in.
Good job by Maley to block that one. You got to expand the strike zone and throw breaking balls either in the dirt or off the plate to Chris Davis. He'll go after it. Got to trust your catcher. You got to be able to trust your catcher to bounce that ball in there, and he's going to block it for you.
Trey Mancini takes a pretty good looking pitch that is called high, ball 1 by Joe West. Mancini hitting .220 on the season, but .316 in his career against Blue Jay pitching, and 5 for 7 as we showed you a little bit earlier in his career against Stroman. The Orioles with a lot of low average but potentially a lot of home run hitting power in their lineup. They can hurt you with home runs, but they don't string hits together very well. They don't get on base very often. Smoke feeding Stroman in plenty of time. 2 down.
Would you call that a one-dimensional type of team?
Yeah, kind of. They are. Offensively, they are.
And they showed it last night. Some big home runs late in the game to send it to extra innings. Chris Davis with a home run in the 8th inning. Caleb Joseph with a home run, and then Jonathan Scope. Buck Showalter's team tied it up late, but then lost it in extra innings.
So 2 down here in the Baltimore second, and here's third baseman Renato Nunez, the player they called up to the big leagues in the aftermath of the Manny Machado deal to Los Angeles. Machado made his debut for the Dodgers last night in Milwaukee, a 6-4 win for the Dodgers, and Machado went 2 for 3 with a couple of walks. It's second, played short.
Hit second and played short. Hit second?
Hit second. Hit second in the order. Yeah. Chris Taylor led off. Max Muncy was having a great year. Hit third. Matt Kemp, the All-Star, hit fourth.
Dodgers have some big thoughts of doing something special.
You can hear Stroman calling off Maley, and the Gold Glover from a year ago makes the play. And that's a neat and tidy 9-pitch, 3-up, 3-down inning for Stroman.
to inspire change all across Canada. And all season long, we celebrate unstoppable kids in Jays Care programs. Visit jayscare.com/unstoppablekids to support and learn more. Dan.
Thank you, Hazel. The Orioles up 1-0 as the Blue Jays come up here in the bottom of the second. Jan Hervis, Solarte, Randall Grichuk, and Kendrys Morales. Solarte hitting .238, 16 home runs on the season. And Solarte seeing the identical shift really that Smoke did, except the third baseman Nunez hovering a little bit closer to third base and in a little bit closer. They're obviously thinking there's a chance Solarte could try to push a bunt for a base hit, whereas they don't think Smoke would ever try that.
We've seen Smokey try that a couple of times this year, especially at Minnesota when the Twins played a 4-man outfield against him.
Which we might see again in a few days when the Twins coming to town.
That's right.
They did it last night. I was watching some highlights. They did it last night against Kansas City on Lucas Duda. So it's obviously
same type of
same type of thing. Reaching for it, Solarte flares one towards left field, and Mancini's there, one down.
You know, Alex Cobb, I don't want to say has reinvented himself, but he's had to really find himself again since the Tommy John surgery. And what that means is sometimes you got to change things up. He's always been known as a guy who throws a split finger type of changeup, and there it is right there. He was tinkering with the thoughts of maybe changing that grip on the changeup. It looks like he's gone back to it. And he's just trying to find that release point. When you don't have the arm strength, I've talked to pitchers about this, and they get ready to throw the ball. There's always that doubt in the back of your mind that, you know, something is not going to be right. And it's almost like learning how to throw all over again.
He's never had a lot of success in this ballpark. An ERA over 7 in 4 career starts at Rogers Center. And some good years though with Tampa Bay. One of the more unusual leg kicks you'll see for a major league pitcher. Fully extends the left leg and kind of bends it, then extends it again as he's coming to the plate.
There's different ways for pitchers to gather themselves over the rubber, where you've got to be able to balance over that rubber. So when you start home, right there, you have everything working together. He drops his hands just a little bit right when he's over the rubber, and that helps him to balance, stay over the rubber just a little bit longer so the arm can get back up as he goes towards home plate. He was a very good pitcher before he got injured with the Tampa Bay Rays.
And the 2-2, there's that splitter again, and 2-2, and Grichuk fouls it off.
Yeah, it's not really a splitter. It just, he splits his fingers and uses it as a changeup. Combines that with a pretty decent fastball that he can locate in a slow curveball.
Ooh, Cobb thought he had him. Cobb turned his back to the plate thinking that ball was going to go around the infield.
Yeah. And then had to readjust. There's the balance. The hands go down, and now the arm comes up.
And now Grichuk swings at a ball in the dirt to strike out, 2 down. So Cobb eventually gets him, but a pitch later than he thought he had him. I don't think Cobb was trying to show up Joe West or anything like that. He just thought he had him on the prior pitch, and turned around, was expecting the ball to be going around the infield. Then he went back to that split change on 3-2. Now Kendrys Morales, who hit a home run off Cobb here on June the 10th, when the Blue Jays really roughed him up. 9 earned runs allowed in 3 2/3. The only difference in the shift that Morales sees compared to, say, Smoke is that because Morales is even slower, Scope is even further out in the outfield. They feel they can make a play way out there and still throw him out.
We saw it in yesterday's game, how communication is so important, especially on the infield and the shift. I believe it was Morales hit a ball that looked like it was heading right to Scope, and Beckham came over and knocked it down. He was charged with an error, but it would have been right at Scope because he's so deep. That's where communication becomes very important to your infielders. That's where they're standing, right where the numbers say he hits the ball.
And a 2-out walk for the first base runner of the afternoon for the Blue Jays. And now Aledmus Diaz, who had a big day at the plate, or a big night at the plate last night, went 4 for 5, including a homer and a double, and was credited with an RBI single on the play that won the ball game. That base hit off the glove of the third baseman Nunez that then rolled under the glove of Beckham, the shortstop, into left, allowing Russell Martin to score.
That was his third career walk-off hit. In fact, it was his second straight walk-off hit against the Baltimore Orioles. Remember, he got that one the first week of June when the team was here playing the Blue Jays.
And this one's going to drop in right field for a base hit, and Morales can make the turn and come to third on that bloop single by Diaz.
When you're hot, you're hot. He got that game winner yesterday when the ball ricocheted off the third baseman, then under the glove of the shortstop for the hit, and this time he's just going to inside out that ball. Looked like that back foot slipped as he went to swing. Look at the back foot actually go out of the batter's box, but when you're hot and you're swinging the way Diaz is, you'll take everything, and you're finding the holes on the defense.
That was odd. You don't see that very often. His right foot slid all the way out of the back of the batter's box on the swing. First and third, 2 down, and an opportunity now for Luke Maile getting the call behind the plate today for the Jays.
This is a bad feeling. Watch the right foot, the back foot, as he goes to swing. He loses contact with the dirt. Hey, no problem. Still swing the bat. Still find the outfield.
So now 5 for his last 6. Maile takes a fastball in for a strike, 1-1. Morales at third, Diaz at first, and the Blue Jays down to 1-0 in the bottom of the second in the middle game of this 3-game set. And a breaking ball chopped back to the mound. Cobb has it, and that's all. The Blue Jays will leave a couple of men on and still trail 1-0 now at the end of 2.
Tour de France title. Don't miss the action July 7th to the 29th on Sportsnet 1. And enjoying those comfy green chairs in the TD Comfort Zone are guests from one of TD's community partners. Welcome, everybody.
And here at Rogers Center, thank you, Hazel, 1-0. The Orioles leading Marcus Stroman and the Blue Jays. The first three Baltimore batters of the game came up with hits. The third hit, that by Adam Jones, driving in Tim Beckham. Then Stroman got a double play ball to get out of the first, 3 up, 3 down, with a strikeout and a couple of ground outs in the second. And here's Joey Rickard, the number 8 hitter for Baltimore, hitting .208. Rickard spending some time down at AAA as well this year, hitting over 300 down in AAA.
Has always hit well against the Blue Jays, just a shade under 300 in his career versus Toronto. Can run a little bit. He can bunt if you need him to. Drag bunt.
And Stroman gets the call on a ball that PitchCast says was low, but if you're Marcus and you're going to miss, especially with a changeup there, miss down.
Yeah, that's where you want to miss. Those first three batters you mentioned, they all got base hits off of him. Since then, he's gotten the ball down. He's getting the ground balls that you like to see. Double play to end the first inning, and then 2 weak ground balls to end the second inning.
When he's going well, the ground ball percentage is extremely high. And when he's not, he gets the ball up and they hit it harder. Did he go? Yes, he did. Joe West will ring him up. Maley out from behind the plate to complete the out. 1 down.
Well, it's a simple equation, I think, with Marcus. All you have to do is look at the ground ball percentage, and it'll tell you a pretty good story of how he's doing. Against the Mets on July the 4th, the ground ball percentage was just 53%. Did not pitch well in that game, just 4 2/3 innings. It jumped all the way to 75% against Atlanta through 7 innings, then back down to 37 against Boston. It's a simple equation. When he's got that sinker working and he's keeping the ball down, tough for the opposition to get the ball in the air against him.
Since the start of last season, his ground ball rate is 63%. That's #1 in baseball. Of course, last year was a very, very good year for Stroman. So I would imagine that 63 was a little higher last year, a little bit lower this year.
Still have to be able to use that breaking ball, and I think that's always a key for him. He's got a curveball and a slider, and he's got to find the one that's working for him and then stay with it. There are times over the last 5 or 6 starts where the slider wasn't there, so he had to revert to the curveball, use that just a little bit more.
Upstairs. Every now and again he'll throw that 2-strike 4-seam fastball upstairs to try to get a chase. But Austin Wins, the catcher for the Orioles, wouldn't go. Hitting .192, 5 for 26. (3-2) and a walk to Wins with 1 out.
The diverse Civic family, our most powerful lineup yet. Honda, proud fan since 1977 and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Nice day, nice crowd. 3rd inning here in the ballpark, where the Blue Jays down 1-0 to the Orioles, and back to the top of the order for Tim Beckham, who began the ball game with a base hit back in the top of the first. Tab, did you see that Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg got into it a little bit?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, and read a little something about that.
Strasburg,
what do you know?
Not much. Well, Strasburg was taken out of the game, had a rough one last night, and then Scherzer, who's really a leader on that team, came over and started talking to him. It looked like Strasburg got upset about something. And the next thing you know, one of them pointed like, let's do this down the tunnel. Let's not do this where the TV cameras are. And I would imagine they might have gotten into a pretty good down the tunnel.
Well, I know the manager, Dave Martinez, I saw some quotes about that today, that Dave was saying, hey, look, you're around each other, you know, for 6 months out of the year. They're two competitive guys. You're going to have disagreements. They handled it between themselves. They kept it inside and between them. Those kind of things happen all the time in baseball when you've got competitive players. And you've got a team that's not living up to expectations.
They are way too good to be under 500 right now. 48 and 49, 6.5 back of the Phillies, 6 back of Atlanta. In there for strike 2 and 2.
You got to figure at some point they're going to make a move somewhere. Not a trade move, but a move where it all comes together and they go on one of those 12 and 4 or 14 and 2 runs. I mean, that's how good they are. But it hasn't happened yet.
Ground ball over Stroman. Diaz step on second, and they'll get the lead runner there. Safe at first on the fielder's choice is Beckham.
The inner clock of Aledmys Diaz so much better. When you get a chance to watch him, he's always paying attention. He's always looking at Luis Rivera, where they want to play him, understanding the game and the situation. That time he had no chance to get a double play, so he just took the sure out at second base.
So 2 down, but a hot hitter is up now, and Jonathan Scope had a base hit his first time up today. Hit a home run last night, career home run number 100. And here a ground ball to short, charged by Diaz. Lots of time to fire it across the infield and retire the side. No runs, no hits, a man left. The Jays coming up at the bottom of the third, down 1-0.
Brought to you by Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. The camera reimagined. Available now.
Bottom of the third, and Devin Travis will lead it off for the Blue Jays. Had another good night last night. Had an RBI triple when a hit and run was on. Also drew a walk. Hitting .244 now on the season. And just got that big smile back on his face. Feeling healthy, playing almost every day, and becoming a contributor at the bottom of the lineup.
You know what, I think a lot of it is two things. He wasn't really, he didn't recognize this until it was pointed out to him. These are the numbers since June the 29th. That great average again, and the on-base percentage and the slugging percentage up there for Travis.
And here retired on a ground ball to short for the first out.
Well, what he's doing, the timing is coming around for Devin at the plate again. That time out in front of that one, just a ground ball to the shortstop. But he's going to hit. It's just a matter of time before he really starts getting it going, and he has over the last 3 weeks or so.
Back to the top of the order for Curtis Granderson, who struck out in his first at bat against Alex Cobb. Once through the order, Cobb's allowed a base hit and a walk, and that's it. 1-0 Baltimore. Got all his pitches dancing right now. He's in and around the strike zone and mixing it up, keeping the Blue Jay hitters off balance.
This is the Alex Cobb that we have seen in the past, pre-Tommy John surgery. Moving the ball around, changing speeds, hitting his spots. This is his 10th career start against the Blue Jays. He knows all about Toronto, how to pitch to him.
They got a big investment in him. This is, we mentioned he signed late, March 21st. There weren't that many starting pitchers on the market who had had the kind of career that Cobb has had, so he commanded a pretty big deal, although he had to wait for it. 4-year deal for $57 million. This is year one of that 4-year deal. For a guy who's got an ERA over 6 right now. There's a liner to scope out in shallow right, 2 down.
Well, think about it also, Dan. You mentioned he signed at the end of March. He made his first start on April the 14th, so just 3 weeks later. Here's the numbers we were talking about. 17. This is, you know, he was still coming back from Tommy John surgery. He also spent some other time in August on the disabled list last year. But think about it. Spring training is for the pitchers. It's 6 weeks long. He basically had 3 weeks to get ready to make that first start on April the 14th. And it didn't go so well his first 3 starts of the season. The most innings he threw in his first 3 starts, 4 2/3. He gave up 10 hits in each one of those starts. He had a lot of earned runs, so he was still getting into shape.
I would think when you sign late, maybe you rush it a little bit. You want to break camp as soon as you can. You don't want to be left too far behind the rest of your teammates.
And you're with a new team, and you're like, you don't want to be left behind. You want to show that you want to be part of that, and you want to get out there. You try and rush yourself back into it, and it's never good. You need all of the 6 weeks that spring training has for you to get your arm in shape, get your legs in shape, compete, build up your pitch count so you can come out and throw your 6, 7, 8 innings in the big leagues.
A little frustrated there as he missed down and away. 3 balls and a strike now on Teoscar Hernandez. Rounded out his first time up. Not a lot of offense so far for the Blue Jays in the early going here today. Man, a little bit wide there from Joe West, but it's a full count, and Teoscar's not really a guy who argues very much.
No. He's been having some problems. Teams have started to throw fastballs up to him, and he's had a little bit of a loop in his swing, and he's missed those pitches. Once he starts making that adjustment, you're going to start to see him hit more home runs.
Wow. Wow. Back-to-back really, really tough calls from Joe West. And Teoscar, you can see he's unhappy again. He doesn't bark very much, but he's not liking that at all. Back-to-back pitches that look to be a pretty good amount off the outside corner. That kind of backs it up. But Joe West rings him up, and that's all for the Blue Jays in the 3rd.
available at a lower price. For $82.99, watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand. Your subscription includes MLB At Bat Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv to take advantage of this very special offer.
Hazel, thank you. To the top of the fourth here at Rogers Center. Dan Shulman and Pat Tabler. 1-0 lead for the Orioles over the Blue Jays. And the run today driven in by that guy, Adam Jones, his 37th RBI on the season. Jones has now gone 37 games since he last hit a home run, and he's maybe exchanging a pleasantry or two with a former teammate of his. Marcus Stroman and Adam Jones, teammates on Team USA in the World Baseball Classic.
Didn't Jones make a good catch when Marcus was pitching?
He made a great catch. I don't remember if it was when Marcus was on the mound, but he made a great catch. They're still chatting and smiling at one another. Two guys with big personalities, two chatty guys. Stroman, of course, the winning pitcher for Team USA in the championship game. That is a fair ball down the line. And Jones is on his way to second and in there easily. He's 2 for 2.
Yeah, and you're pitching against a veteran like Adam Jones, who's seen it all, I think, in the big leagues. He got ahead 2-0, and it looked like Marcus tried to quick pitch him. But Jonesy said, you know what, you can't pull that by me. Yanks this one over the bag for extra bases. Tried to quick pitch him, but he was ready. That is right over the bag.
So single and a double for Jones. He's off to a good start here today. Now we'll see Stroman to face Mark Trumbo. Got Trumbo to ground into a double play to end the first to keep the damage to just 1 run back then. Looks like the strike zone's a little wide on the outside to the right-handed batters today, and I'm sure both Cobb and Stroman have taken notice of that.
Yeah, pick up on that. Then you can test. Okay, I'm going to throw one right here. If it's called a strike, maybe I'll try another one just a little bit further out and see if I get that call.
A lot of run on that 92-mile-an-hour sinker. It's 0-2. That's what generates the ground balls when Stroman is on. That the movement and the sinking action on that two-seam fastball.
Yeah, when it's down, and now it looked like they might have gotten crossed up right there. Something just didn't look right on the foul tip. So Luke Mailey's going to talk about it.
And again, with a runner at second, a more complicated set of signs. You've got an indicator from Mailey, so it's not just 1 for fastball, 2 for curveball. And you're right. I think Mailey thought it was a slider. Yes. That was going away from him.
That's exactly right. He had moved to the outside part of the plate, and I think he was anticipating slider. And he got the foul ball, but Luke is so good, he was able to hold on to that foul tip.
You get crossed up, and it's a foul ball, and you still catch it. That's a pretty good catcher right there. So they got it sorted out as the Blue Jays use an early mound visit. And a swing and a miss. There's the slider down and away, and he gets Trumbo 1 down.
That's another reason why you change it up, so the batter out there at second base, he's not flashing anything to you. That kind of swing right there tells you that maybe he got the wrong sign. He might have got a fastball, and Stroman threw him a breaking ball, and he took a bad swing at it.
Third strikeout for Stroman this afternoon. He got Chris Davis back in the second. As we mentioned last night, the home run a night ago notwithstanding, it has been a really tough season to say the least for Chris Davis. He is hitting .158 on the year. A little bit inside. And Davis now, including the at-bat today, in 298 at-bats has struck out 120 times. He is striking out in more than 40% of his at-bats. His plate appearances per strikeout. This is career for Chris Davis, the second most of anybody since 1960. That's, you know, you can tolerate that when you're hitting for a decent average and you're hitting 45, 50 homers a year, which he did a couple of times. Hit 53 one year.
it's a trade-off. You'll trade the home runs and production for the strikeouts. But when you're not getting the production, it's tough. It's just an empty at bat where nothing happens. You don't move the runners, nothing.
Yeah, this year just 10 homers and 7 doubles, and this is his 82nd game. He's got a slugging percentage of .283. And we've seen Blue Jay pitchers throw that pitch to him time and time again this year.
Slider underneath the bat, right underneath the bat. He's had the lowest average in baseball on inside pitches, so they've pounded him in and they've thrown sliders down and into him.
It's like they're going in there again. Too far in, and it hit him actually, so Davis down to first base on the hit by pitch.
Would have been ball 4 anyway. Slider, they go back in there. Davis takes it off the knee.
So 2 men on with 1 out. The Orioles already up 1-0 as they bat here in the top of the 4th. And here's Trey Mancini. Again, Stroman looking for a ground ball and a chance to turn 2 to get out of this. And a strike. When you faced a guy who threw 5 different pitches, somebody like Marcus Stroman, what do you guess? Do you just react to the baseball? Do you try to think along with the pitcher?
I'm watching him and seeing how he's pitching against a similar type of hitter.
Jones breaking for third, and he's in there as the ball popped in and out of the mid of Maley. It was not a foul ball. So Jones goes to third on the play, and that'll be, I assume, charged to pass ball, obviously.
Yeah. But to finish that thought, I'm thinking about, okay, does he fall into any patterns? Here's the pitch. It bounces off the glove, and Jones is going to take advantage of that on the pass ball. But you wonder, does he fall into any patterns? That's one way you can do it. Then you can guess along with him if you're that type of hitter. Or you eliminate some of them. You're watching, you say, okay, he's having trouble getting a slider over. Well, just eliminate it. Or he's not getting his changeup over it.
The good news for the Blue Jays is Davis stayed at first, so a ground ball could still end the inning here. Popped foul and out of play. Nice grab. Good seats, good catch. That's the kind of foul ball you want if you're sitting in the stands.
Have you done a game down there?
No.
I've done a game down there.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It's coming at you fast.
You're right. That's the kind of pop-up little foul ball you want to have. You can handle that one.
That's as gentle a foul ball as you'll ever get. Swing and a miss. 2 down.
Slider is starting to come over for Stroman. He set that one up beautifully with that inside fastball. And then drops that slider. Watch this thing disappear on Trey Mancini. Trey's had some tough time hitting with runners in scoring position this year. It comes up empty on that breaking ball.
So 2 down for Renato Nunez, the third baseman who grounded out his first time up. Went 1 for 4 with a double in last night's game. First and third, 2 down. And a little bit too much run on that fastball. Takes it down and in for ball 1. Stroman at 54 pitches right now through 3 2/3. Blue Jays got a lot of length out of Sam Gaviglio last night. He went 7 2/3 in what was eventually a 10-inning game. Throw down to first, and diving back in Davis. The smoke keeps it from going down the line. Ground ball to third. Solarte has it. And the Orioles are retired. Good job by Stroman to get out of it. Baltimore leaves 2 men on, and the Jays coming up, trailing 1-0. And as we talked about last night, looking more and more like the Smoke of last year recently.
Yeah, the 350 average, you love to see that. I like the production that you're starting to see from Smoke again, driving the ball out of the ballpark, coming up with some clutch hits. That OPS of 1.247, outstanding. He's not chasing like we saw earlier. He's staying aggressive, but laying off those tough pitches. And for him, he said it's just the mindset of just being aggressive. I'm going to go up there. The first good pitch I see, I'm going to let it go.
Do you think it matters, Tabby? We see Smoke hitting third today, Solarte fourth, Morales is down to the 6th spot. Sometimes Solarte's 2. You know, Teoscar Hernandez has hit 4th. Smoke has hit 4th. Do you think it matters much? 2, 3, 4, 5. Who's hitting where?
Not to a veteran. If you're talking about Smoke in particular, I don't think so. I think he just likes to see his name penciled in to that lineup, and then I don't care where I hit. He's going to hit somewhere in the middle of the lineup because of the production that you're going to get from him. Younger players, on the other hand, they want to know where they want to hit. You're going to hit me leadoff. You're going to hit me down at the bottom of the order. I think with the injuries that they've had, though, Josh Donaldson in particular, you could always pencil him at number 2 and then build around him at number 2. I think having those guys out of the lineup, the Troy Tulowitzkis and the Donaldsons and now the Pilars, guys where you knew where they were going to be, I think can become disturbing.
2 balls, 2 strikes, the count on Smoke. John Gibbons, he's been dealing with injuries in his lineup the entire season. They've never really been whole all year. Full count.
You know, the one guy that I'm impressed with being a young hitter and moving around in the lineup is Teoscar Hernandez. That's really hard for a young player. He'll hit first one day, third one day, clean up. That's a lot to ask for a player who's in his first year in the big leagues. If they had all of those players who we were talking about, he would be somewhere in the 6th or 7th in the lineup, which would be really good for his development as a young player, as a hitter. He has a little bit extra pressure on him now, hitting 2nd, 3rd, or 4th.
3-2 again to Smoke. And he'll draw a leadoff walk. Nice job there by Smoke. You mentioned Hernandez. You see him talking to Richard Urania and Lourdes Gurriel. Gurriel in the batting cage again today, taking BP. And we asked John Gibbons before the game, he's eligible to come off the 7-day concussion DL tomorrow. Will he come off tomorrow? And Gibby said, well, he's got to pass the doctor's test, the concussion protocol. And he has passed some of the tests. I think they have to give him one final one, whether it's after the game today or tomorrow morning before he's eligible. But it sounds like there's a chance that Gurriel will be back on the active roster tomorrow.
He was hitting like we just showed you right there. He was running the bases today and looked fine, and we've seen him take ground balls. It's a baseline test that they take in spring training that tests your memory. And if you get kicked in the head like he did or have some kind of concussion, you have to go back and take that same test and hit those same numbers you did before you had those symptoms.
And the reason the concussion DL is just 7 days is because it's such an uncertain thing. Concussions, as we know, can be tremendously serious, last months, years. Right. But a more mild one theoretically can clear up rather quickly. So the 7-day concussion DL came in when the regular DL was still 15 days. Now it's 7 and 10. There's no more 15-day DL. It's now a 10-day DL. But the idea was that if the symptoms clear up quickly, then the player gets back sooner.
And all indications are he's going to be okay. This is where he got kicked inadvertently right there from Rodriguez, the pitcher, trying to jump over him right in the back of the head. Those types of injuries, they look like they're not much, but I'm telling you, he got hit hard, and his symptoms didn't happen till towards the end of the game or after the game. He continued in that game.
Yeah, they came out and checked him on the field, and part of the mandate for Major League Baseball is when you check out somebody for a concussion in game, you have to check with them. You have to check them again every inning when they come off the field. And Nicky Huffman and the staff of the Blue Jays kept checking on him every single inning, and he didn't complain about symptoms until after the game. Remember, the ground ball went through his legs in the 10th inning, eventually leading to the Bogaerts grand slam. And it was after that, when the game was over, where he came into the dugout and said, I'm not feeling so good.
Oh, see, that's a sure sign that something's not going right. That you feel like you're going to lose it. But he's been out here the last couple of days, and he's looked 100%. So that's a good chance he's going to be back in the lineup tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a good chance he's back tomorrow. Good chance Marco Estrada's back Monday to start. And then Ryan Borucki is supposed to return on Tuesday to make a start after the 10 days of the minors. The Blue Jays using the All-Star break to get an extra reliever. So they're still carrying a 10-man bullpen right now. But they could lose a couple of relievers for Estrada and Borucki, and Urena could go back down to the minors if Gurriel comes off. Cobb snaps a throw to second. They may want to check there. They may want to check. I think that Beckham was by the bag when the throw went to second base. And I think Smoke saw it too. He's not going anywhere. And the Blue Jays may have a look at this one.
Yep, they're going to take a look at this one at second base. Cobb was a finalist for the Gold Glove last year. He makes the right decision, but his throw takes him off.
He's way gone.
Yeah, that's going to be an easy one right there.
And safe at first was Solarte. So Beckham, in his rush to try to get two when he really only had a chance to get one, instead, in all likelihood, winds up with them getting nobody.
Yeah, this is where having a shortstop or a second baseman or whatever, that internal clock I was talking about with Aledmys Diaz, you are not going to turn two on this play. So you're better off, like Diaz did, just get the sure out at second base. There's Smoke saying right there, hey, he was off the base.
Now, part of it is the throw was a little bit up and to his left, so he had to reach. But if his mindset is, all I got is a chance for one, then he's not moving. He's not going anywhere.
You act like a first baseman and you stretch to the baseball and just get the one out. But in his haste to try and get two, clearly pulled off, and this is an easy call.
And they overturn it. So they don't get anybody. It's first and second, nobody out. For Randall Grichuk, who hit his 12th home run of the season last night. And how about this, Tabby? Going back to June 3rd, he's got the most home runs on the ball club.
Well, it's always been in there for him. It's just a matter of time of getting used to the American League, his new teammates, the pitchers that he's facing. He's got tremendous bat speed. He had a back-to-back home run in yesterday's ball game. Right after the Martin home run, he drilled one deep to left center field.
in the dirt. Nice block there by Wins. 1-1. The scoring on the previous play, by the way, is fielder's choice and E6. Beckham is charged with an error for not keeping his foot on the bag. So that's his second error in as many games. And remember, they've just moved him from third over to short, which is his original natural position. But they're moving him back there because they just traded Manny Machado. And as Tabby said, they don't have anybody else.
Now the Blue Jays have to take advantage of it. They did in yesterday's ball game.
Hard but foul down the line. 1-2.
It looked like Grichuk's hand came off that bat, or he cracked the bat. One of them. That was something happened there when he swung at that ball.
Well, he's got a new bat, so
it looks like he hit it square. And the hand came off of it.
His bottom hand came off.
His bottom hand.
Yeah. He goes the opposite way, and it's down for a hit. Smoke is around third, heading home. Throw to the plate, not in time. To third, Solarte on an RBI double by Grichuk, and the Blue Jays are on the board.
That is just a good piece of hitting by Grichuk. If he tries to do anything more than what he did, it was going to be an easy pop-up to the infield or a ground ball. Watch him take this ball, let it get deep, and just slice it down the right field line. Smoke gets the wave from Luis Rivera because Rickert, the right fielder, was playing deep, cut the ball off, threw it to Jonathan Scope, who had the long relay. That allows Smoke to come around to score.
That's a lot of lumbering for the big fella. I mean, he tried, he went in hard to second base, and he scored on a close play.
What's his teammates going to say to him?
Do you want some oxygen?
No, they're going to say, you're at second base and you barely scored on a double. There was a play at the plate on a double. Oh, that's great. I like being aggressive like that. Rivera was aggressive. He sent Smoke home. He sent Solarte to third. You got to read the outfielders, and he did. Rickert was backing up trying to catch that ball on one hop, and he read that and said, let's go.
So again, the Blue Jays still, they have to do more, have to take advantage here. Second and third, nobody out. Infield is backed up for Kendrys Morales. Walked back in the second. Here you don't mind him hitting a ground ball out to shallow right to Scope. It gets a run home, and not only that, it gets Grichuk to third with what would be only one out.
Something that the Blue Jays work on every day in batting practice. Get them over, get them in. You've got runners at second and third, nobody out. You're trying to pull the ball to the right side of the infield. Get an easy RBI, and then send that runner over to third base.
Yeah, they can get 2 more runs here in the bottom of the fourth without another hit if they just execute well. Three balls and a strike. See Morales with the pinky finger on his right hand down below the knob of the bat.
Just helps you to buggy whip that bat a little bit quicker. You're just using your fingers. He's basically got his 2 bottom fingers on the bat.
Look out. Not enough to hang on to it, I guess. And fortunately, everybody okay. That one went flying into the camera well, but hit the back wall.
Doesn't look like he wants it back either. He's got a new set of lumber up there.
I don't know what's going on between Austin Wynns and Joe West and the baseball right now, but they got it all sorted out. I think Wes said, I gave you a ball, and Wins couldn't find it. And it was right there underneath him. Never a dull moment when Cowboy Joe's working the plate. Three-two. And ball 4 outside. Morales walks, and the bases are loaded as we check in back in the studio. He's got 24 home runs this year. His OPS the last 6 weeks is something like 1,100. Here's Diaz. And a ground ball to the left side to third to second, one on to first in time. The Orioles get a double play. A run will come to score as Solarte crosses the plate, but that's a win for Baltimore, even as the Blue Jays take a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, you will trade, even though it's early in the game, a run for 2 outs. Diaz has been a hot hitter. He almost gets it through the left side, but Nunez cuts it off. They go around the horn and pick up a big double play. Bases loaded, nobody out. Blue Jays have only been able to score 1. Now they need a 2-out hit.
So no RBI on that for Diaz. 2-1 Blue Jays. Runner at third, 2 down, and here's Maley. Maley grounded out his first time up. Matt Carpenter, as Jamie was talking about yesterday, 3 homers, 2 doubles, 16 total bases. Tied an all-time Cardinal record. Hard hitting Witten. Mark Witten had a 4-homer game for the Cardinals. So he had 16 total bases in a game. I believe the major league record for total bases in a game is 19 by former Blue Jay Shawn Green, who, while with the Dodgers in a game against Milwaukee, went 6 for 6 with 4 homers, a double, and a single. Arguably, maybe not even arguably, the best day that any hitter's ever had.
19 total bases.
6 for 6 with 4 homers.
Jeez.
How about maybe putting them on once, you know?
maybe there's no place to put them.
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't matter if you put them on or not. 4 homer games. Those things are rare. And Matt Carpenter had a chance yesterday.
Yeah, didn't get that last at bat because they were blowing him out so bad. Ground ball past the mound and into center field, a base hit. Maley finds a hole up the middle for an RBI single. In to score Grichuk, and it's 3-1.
Blue Jays were in danger of just getting 1 run after they loaded the bases with nobody out. That it takes a Luke Maley 2-out hit. He gets it by first Cobb and then the shortstop. Beckham can't knock it down and make the play, and Luke Maley has another RBI.
His 21st on the season. The inning continues now for Devin Travis. He grounded out his first time up. Randal Grichuk in the middle of it this inning, driving in a run with a double, then coming in on the base hit by Maley. Wow, it's been a strike all day long.
Yeah, no arguing, because he's been very consistent.
Would you get up on the plate a little bit as a right-handed batter when you see that all day?
Absolutely. If you pay attention, you see that he's putting that ball on the outside part of the plate, and the umpire's calling it. Cheat just a little bit. The catcher's going to cheat. He's going to cheat onto the outside just a little bit more.
Well, Joe still got a bit of arm strength as he threw that ball back out to the mound.
One of the things that Devin was doing when he was not hitting the ball is he was being pitched away, and he unconsciously started leaning out over the plate, and his balance was all off at the plate. He's a little bit more upright now, sees the ball just a little bit better. That and the timing at the plate. He's starting his swing just a fraction of a second earlier to get that timing going, and he's starting to hit the ball with authority to right field again.
The 2-2. And that one's too far outside, so a full count, and now Maley will get a head start at first. Davis coming off the bag to play behind the runner. There he goes, and Travis lifts a fly ball to right field. Joey Rickard coming in, and that'll retire the side, but not before the Blue Jays score 3 times to take a 3-1 lead. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell along with Kevin Barker in the Samsung broadcast studio.
WE Monday Night Raw, Monday on Sportsnet 360 and Sportsnet Now. WestJet's first Dreamliner is coming, and it's a game changer. Get ready for a refined travel experience. Visit 787.westjet.com to see the whole story.
Thank you, Hazel. Top 5. Dan Schulman, Pat Tabler, Blue Jays 3 and the Orioles 1. The Jays winning 8-7 in 10 innings last night. Trail for the first few innings here today, but just scored 3 times in the bottom of the 4th. So Marcus Stroman pitching with a lead for the first time today as Joey Rickard steps in. Rickard, Austin Wynns, and Tim Beckham 8-9-1 in Buck Showalter's lineup. Talked a lot about the Orioles and guys they could trade. Machado's gone. Zach Britton will be. Maybe guys like Brad Brock, Adam Jones as well. Well, Buck Showalter's contract is up at the end of the year, and the general manager Dan Duquette, his contract is up at the end of the year. So we'll see if either of them is back next season. Buck, of course, has had a long, successful managing career with Texas and the Yankees and Arizona and Baltimore. A lot of postseason experience. Has never won a World Series.
He's built some great teams, though, that did go on to win World Series. He was in New York right before they went on that great run in the late 90s. He also was the architect of the Arizona Diamondbacks before they won a World Series championship.
A guy who's got a lot more clout, I think, in the Baltimore organization as the years have moved on. Brady Anderson's a big-time executive right now in the Orioles system, and I think he's got a lot of sway in some of the things that they're doing. Former player for the Orioles. There's a ground ball to third. Solarte has it, and across to Smoking Time, 1 down. Orioles were in the playoffs in 2012, 14, 16, but a big step back last year, and obviously 28-70, on pace potentially, Tabby, to have one of the worst marks in baseball history.
You see the difference between the two teams. They are actually averaging more runs per game this year than they were last year. Not the same number of home runs. But you're right, it's really fallen off very quickly. Fewer home runs, lower batting average.
Well, they're 29th out of 30 teams in runs per game. Only Kansas City's worse. And they're 29th out of 30 teams in ERA. Only Kansas City's worse. So they're not scoring enough and they're not preventing enough. And we've seen, and we saw earlier in the season as well, the defense isn't helping the pitching. It's a deep rebuild for the Baltimore Orioles. And it looks like it's going to take a few years.
I think they realize that too. And they said, you know what? We lost Matt Wieters a few years ago and didn't get anything for him. We were going to lose Manny Machado, and they got 5 prospects for him. They signed Davis to a long-term contract. Adam Jones's contract's up. Some of the other relievers' contracts are up.
Stroman with lots of time. Wins retired 2 down.
And I think you make that determination. You say, okay, we got to start over. Doesn't mean you stop playing baseball or trying to win or trying to learn. You're veteran players. You're turning them over, and you're going to start using your young team, your teams from your players from your farm system. Problem is, their farm system has been rated in the lower third over the last couple of years, so it's going to take some time to restock the farm system.
And this is an organization with such a proud history. You go back to the 60s and into the 70s. Great pitchers. Jim Palmer, a Hall of Famer among them. Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson both played for the Orioles. You go to the 80s with Cal Ripken and Eddie Murray winning a World Series in 1983. Leaner times recently, although as we mentioned under Buck, made the postseason 3 times in 5 years, won the division in 2014.
Before that, they had some really good teams in the mid-90s also. Remember, they came very close to going to the World Series like in 95 or 96.
Yeah, 1997 they won 98 games, won the division. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the year they're playing the Yankees in the playoffs, and Jeffrey Mayer, the kid, reaches over. Remember, Derek Jeter hits a fly ball to right field. Richie Garcia calls it a home run. Mayer reaches over, helps the Yankees win the game, helps the Yankees win the series. Marlins eventually beat the Yankees in the World Series. That's long before, of course, Buck Showalter got to the manager's position with Baltimore. But yeah, they had some really good teams.
Cleveland beat them one year, I think, to go to the World Series, maybe 96. And then the teams that you were talking about, but in between those 96, 97 team and around 2013 or so, not so good. They had to rebuild, and it started the rebuild when they started trading their veteran players. One of them, Eric Bedard, they got 5 really good players from Seattle. Does that sound familiar?
Yep. Well, Adam Jones came in that deal.
Yes.
Adam Jones came from
Chris
Seattle.
Tillman.
Yep. Who they just DFA'd yesterday. Designated him for assignment yesterday. Their former #1 starter. Adam Jones may be moving on by the end of the month. Up to him, though, as a 10-5 guy. He can refuse a deal. 2 down and the base is empty. 3-2 on Tim Beckham. I mean, if you're a fan of the Blue Jays, you say, man, the Red Sox are so good and the Yankees are good and they look like they're going to be good for a while. The division's tough. If you're a fan of the Orioles, you got even more to worry about because you're not as far along in the major league level and you're not as far along in the minor league level. And that's what they're trying to do, is rebuild the system. But that's not a 1-year kind of thing. That takes a while.
And if you're going to do that, and they've made that decision, you start trading off the veteran players and getting 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s, 4-for-1s. Just saw a thing here where Zach Britton is this weekend might be
next,
the time.
They'll get a lot for him, I think.
I do too.
Premium reliever.
There he is.
Getting healthier, throwing better, and he'll be in demand. I think the Boston Red Sox, if they want to trade within the division, the Red Sox would love to get a lefty to complement Kimbrel. And a good at bat by Tim Beckham as he wins the battle with Marcus Stroman.
Take on any project with Home Hardware. Proud partner of the Toronto Blue Jays. Here's how.
Dan Schulman, Pat Tabler, Hazel May. Here at Rogers Center, a 3-1 lead for the Blue Jays with the Orioles batting at the top of the 5th inning. A runner on with 2 down for Jonathan Scope, who's 1 for 2 today. Stroman, as you can see, it's 73 pitches right now through 4 2/3. Wow, up and in, swing and a miss, 0-1.
Scope's always been a free swinger, if you will. Doesn't see a whole lot of pitches, but that's his game, and you can live with it. Had a big year last year, had a big home run last night.
Tied the game. The second of the 2 home runs given up by Tyler Clippard in the 9th inning. You know, I guess even though you know it's going to be a strike because he's been calling strikes out there all day is one thing. Your whole career, you're conditioned to think that's a ball. So now you got to change everything, all your muscle memory, and say go after that pitch, because Joe West has been calling it a strike all day. And Maile, not surprisingly, slides to the outside. Breaking ball, swing and a miss, Scope to a knee, and the Orioles retired in the top of the 5th. Strikeout number 5 on the afternoon for Stroman. Looking pretty sharp, and the Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead.
Injury suffered in Boston. He told me that area is still feeling tender today, but certainly much better than a week ago. And while it continues to heal, he's trying to keep his lower body strong. He started in the pool with aerobics. Yesterday was the first time he's mixed in some cardio on the bike. His workouts, he tells me, involve using his own body weight because he can't lift regular weights yet. Pilar will stay with the ball club during this homestand. He still doesn't know whether he'll go on the road to Chicago this weekend. That's still to be determined. Now, we know Pilar has averaged almost 150 games per season over the past 3 years, Dan. So this experience, he tells me, has been a little strange for him. Quote, it's been both frustrating, a little weird, and a little nerve-wracking watching the ball games. I don't know how starting pitchers do it.
Position player finding out how the other half lives. Pilar still out for several more weeks, hoping to continue that rehab, get more range of motion gradually, and he knows he's kind of fortunate that had the injury gone in a little bit of a different direction, it could have been much more serious. And we're not just talking about baseball here. So I think he feels, you know, as much as he misses not playing, I think he feels a little bit lucky that it wasn't more serious.
Yeah, so now he's got the long road back. He's going to have to put the time in, and he will. The unfortunate and the bad thing about being on the DL, you never feel like you're part of the team. And when he was talking with Hazel, I was listening to him, and he was saying, you know, he's hoping to go on the road. That's what you want to do. You want to be around your teammates. You want to be part of the team. When you're on the disabled list and you have to go to Florida or whatever when the team goes on the DL, when you go on the DL and they go out on the road, it's a bad feeling. It's like, I need to be there with my team.
Teoscar Hernandez lifts the ball to deep right center field. It's off the wall. And Hernandez into second base with a long double. He continues, Tabby, to show tremendous power to the opposite field.
Yeah, and he's showing extra base power to the opposite field all over the diamond. Curveball. He stays back on it nicely. He recognized it very quickly out of the hand of Alex Cobb, stayed back and drilled it off the top of the wall. That's another extra base hit for Hernandez. Watch how close he comes from hitting a home run, but it'll be another extra base hit.
And And the Blue Jays looking to add to the lead, up 3-1 here, bottom of the 5th for Justin Smoak. Smoak not getting a lot of first pitch fastballs so far in the first 2 games here with Baltimore. And Hernandez pretty aggressive out there at second base, and now Beckham kind of after the fact came over to try to keep him close, but because they're more worried about Smoak, you can see how far Beckham is away from second base, and Teoscar can really get out there. Smoak with a high fly ball to deep left center field. Jones is back and he makes the catch. Hernandez will tag and come to third. Jones having to go a long way to deny Smoak.
I think that's one of the toughest base running balls when you're at second base to read. The long fly ball in the gap. Watch Hernandez. He does it perfectly. He reads the ball, sees where the outfielder is, and then right away he goes back to tag. You say, okay, what's the big deal about that? If Jones is late getting the ball back into the infield, he's going to try and score. Look at the effort that he's giving Luis Rivera. He's thinking about scoring. Excellent base running.
Chopper foul. Yeah, rounded third just in case if the throw back to the cutoff man short hopped him, if there was a bobble or it bounced away a few feet, he might have tried to go home. How many guys have you seen tag up from second and score on a fly ball, like in your playing days?
Kirk Gibson.
Yeah.
I saw Kirk Gibson do it. Tiger Stadium was what, 440 to center field?
Yeah, it was a mile.
Yeah.
It was a mile to center field.
And he didn't take anything for granted. Teoscar's coming all the way down that line.
And that's a balk, Joe West says. And Hernandez will come in to score.
And I think the argument from Alex Cobb is that I stepped off, but I think it looked like he started his motion before he took his right foot off of the rubber. And Buck Showalter's saying, what else can go wrong with my team? Watch him. Watch the right foot. The hand goes up, and then he steps off. That's a balk.
You know, and I think we all understand analytics work. This is not an anti-analytic statement, but that situation doesn't happen if they're not in the shift. Now they're in the shift because that's where they think they need to play Solarte, but because the third baseman is so far off the line, Hernandez can get way down the line, distract Cobb, and create the balk.
Well, then he needs to be in the stretch. He shouldn't be in the windup.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
He was in the windup. Teoscar picked up on that, came halfway down the line, and basically coaxed the balk out of Alex Cobb.
So it's 4-1 Blue Jays. And the batter is Yangervis Solarte, 0 for 2. I mean, he could have gone as far as he wanted to.
You can see Luis Rivera say, look where the third baseman is. Not even your pitch, just keep going down, going down. I mean, and he's starting in the windup.
It's funny, he wasn't even dancing or stunting. He was actually coming back towards the bag when the balk happened. That's a foul ball. But you take what they give you, and in the shift they give you that.
And with that long, exaggerated windup from Cobb, you can take a shot at trying to steal home if you can get that far off. I think Alex was just trying to step off. You have to step off first before you move your hands into your windup.
And Solarte goes around, and that'll be all for the Blue Jays here in the 5th. But the balk leads to another run, and at the end of 5, the Blue Jays lead 4-1.
Jersey presented by Honda on Wednesday, August 8th. The first 20,000 fans will receive this Aaron Sanchez blue replica jersey. Then watch the Blue Jays host the Red Sox at 7:07 p.m. For tickets, visit BlueJays.com. And Dan Sanchez remains in Dunedin. He continues to play catch and getting his work in at the rehab complex.
All right, Hazel, thank you. And again, you know, this is one that's gone on longer than we thought. When we first heard about the injury, you know, for the first couple of days, it's, well, let's see if he'll be able to make the next start. And obviously, it's dragged on into several weeks right now for Aaron Sanchez. And not even really on a, you know, he's playing catch, but not really a true rehab program yet. He's probably still a few weeks away.
1 month ago today is when he pitched in that game in Los Angeles and came out after 1 inning. June the 21st. Pitched. Could not go after 1 inning. I thought it was going to be maybe miss 1 start,
right,
maybe 2 starts.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Now that he has missed this much time, it's going to take a little bit more to build back up and get into game shape.
Adam Jones has singled and doubled today and lifts a fly ball to right center field. Granderson is there, 1 down.
At the Honda Checkered Flag event, the real victory lap is the drive home.
Here at Rogers Center, Dan Shulman, Pat Tabler, Hazel May. Second game of 3 between the Orioles and the Blue Jays. If the Blue Jays win today, they'll clinch a series victory. It'll be their first series win in the last 9. They've lost 3 and split the other 5, according to their notes. And it is 4-1 for the Blue Jays here in the 6th. Mark Trumbo is the batter. He's 0 for 2.
Talking about going back to that Washington series. That's the last series they won. Swept the Nationals.
And activity now in the Baltimore bullpen. Right-hander Mike Wright Jr. All is quiet in the Blue Jay pen right now. Stroman pitching well and at 81 pitches. Consistently a strike, even though, I mean, that's not an inch outside. That's 3-4 inches outside. And Luke Maile calling for the fastball away. And you know what? You got to go after it when you're Trumbo.
You know, it forces him to swing.
Yep.
Pitchers would understand umpires, and if they were giving them that pitch, then they'd try a little bit further outside. Then they'd try just a little bit further outside. Then they bust you in. And
One away
Lucas
again.
Set up just a little further outside.
Time with a slider. Chris Davis on deck for the Orioles. 0 for 2, double play ball and a strikeout today. 4-1 Blue Jays top 6. Mark Trumbo taking a lot of time between pitches. He's a big guy. He can reach that outside corner and beyond. And ball 4. Stroman had him 1 and 2 and walks him as we check in with the studio. The Mets, by the way, Yoenis Cespedes came off the DL yesterday and then announced to the media after the game he thinks he may need to have surgery on both heels, which will keep him out 8 to 10 months. He announced it. After the game, obviously Mickey Callaway, the manager, was said, "Did you know anything about this?" And Callaway said, "No, I had not heard that." And now nobody in Mets management is talking about it today, and the New York media is just jumping on this. And this kind of stuff happens all the time with the Mets, where injuries are confusing and the communication is not handled well. And
I thought it was a hip problem or a quad problem.
I think this is a separate thing that Cespedes just kind of announced.
8 to 10 months.
I have some friends who are Mets fans. It's not an easy existence.
No.
It's one of those teams where, some of my buddies kind of wish they were, born into a family that wasn't Mets fans, but there's somebody in their family was a Mets fan, so they became a Mets fan. And, once you're a fan pretty much. Inside.
Well, like you said, it happens all over baseball. I mean, there's all kind of problems with some teams injury-wise. The Mets, they had some high hopes this year. Even the Marlins have a better record than the Mets.
There were some reasonably high hopes for them coming into the season if the starting pitching could stay healthy, which it hasn't really. Harvey didn't do well. Now he's with Cincinnati. Syndergaard's just come back from the DL.
Matz, Wheeler.
Yeah, Wheeler's pitching well right
now.
But will the Mets unload some arms? Will they go into total, complete rebuild mode? 1-2 to Davis. And a ground ball. This could be two. Solarte flips to Diaz. Wide at first, and safe is Davis. So they just get one.
Well, they got what they wanted. The ground ball. This is a tailor-made double play. The feed, and he's way off the base. I didn't see what the runner did. Did he go into second base? Yeah, he didn't distract him. It's just a wide throw, and they can't finish it. That's unfortunate because that should have been a double play, and they should have been out of the inning.
And Smoke did all he could, as you can see, but to no avail. So a fielder's choice, 2 down. Davis aboard. And the batter is Trey Mancini, 0 for 2. No error charged on the play because you cannot assume a double play according to baseball scoring, so it's just a fielder's choice. High fly ball to right center field and pretty well hit. Granderson has it on the warning track. To the bottom of the 6th, 4-1 Blue Jays.
World Series. Join us as we celebrate back-to-back World Series championships and celebrate Blue Jays heroes of the past. On Saturday, August 11th, the first 20,000 fans will receive an Alomar, Molitor, and Olerud triple bobblehead. Don't forget to arrive early for all the pre-game festivities. For tickets, visit BlueJays.com.
Hazel, thank you. New pitcher on for Baltimore, right-hander Mike Wright Jr.
Big Mike Wright was a former starter. He was a starter in the minor league, got some starts in the big leagues with the Orioles. They have transitioned him into the bullpen. He's made a couple of starts this year, but the rest of them, the 23 games, has been as a reliever, much better as a reliever than a starter. There are his numbers: 2-0, 485 earned run average. Sinker slider type of pitcher. Comes right after you out of the bullpen.
And Randall Grichuk leads off the bottom of the sixth for the Blue Jays. Grichuk had an RBI double his last time up, also was struck out today. Grichuk is 11 for 27 against the Orioles this year. That's better than a .400 average, and 7 of those 11 hits are for extra bases. He'll be followed by Kendrys Morales and Aledmys Diaz. High fly ball, but should be routine to right field. One down.
This 4K broadcast is brought to you by the Samsung QLED TV. See nothing else.
Nice afternoon here in Toronto. Roof open at Rogers Center with the Blue Jays up 4-1, trying to make it 2 in a row over the Orioles. And here's Kendrys Morales, who's walked both of his times up today. And he lifts a fly ball to right field. It is pretty deep, but not quite deep enough. Rickard is there, 2 down.
Boy, he just missed that. Looked like it got in on Kendrys just a little bit. He's been swinging the bat a little bit better. Mike Wright gets the first 2 batters here in the 6th inning. Kendrys just missed that pitch. The Super Slow-Mo is brought to you by the Samsung S9 and S9 Plus, the camera reimagined. Available now. And if you had that, you would see that he just missed that ball.
That's what he's telling people. 2 down, and Aledmys Diaz, the batter. He's 1 for 2. By the way, Tabby, I want to clear something up. I said it was 97 we were talking about when Jeffrey Mayer reached out, caught the. It was 96, 1996, Yankees Orioles, and the Yankees went on to win the World Series that year. It took place in the ALCS between the Yankees and the Orioles. It was game 1 of that series, and the home run allowed the Yankees to tie the score in that game. They went on to win the game and won the series in 5 games on their way to winning the World Series that year.
And the hitter was who?
Derek Jeter.
Yeah,
Derek Sanderson Jeter.
There you go. That's when it all started, that Hall of Fame career, right around that time. His first manager, Buck Showalter.
Right, who was there in 95. Was not there in 96 when they won the first of 3 in a row. Or no, I'm sorry, when they won the first of 4 in 5 years. They won in 96, 98, 99, and 2000.
Buck was a main contributor of the architecture of that team. A lot of those young players played for him in the minor leagues for the Yankees, and he came up with them.
Even though they spent a lot of money, they were still the Yankees back then. They had a lot of great homegrown players that were really the core of that team.
Andy Pettit, Bernie Williams,
Mariano Rivera guy.
Yeah, he was okay.
He was all right. 4 World Series in 5 years. Bit of a hanging breaking ball there that Diaz fouls back.
Yeah, Mike Wright is not happy with himself with that pitch. He knows he got away with one right there. Diaz has been swinging a hot bat. Been on everything so far in this series. Mike Wright thought he had given up one there, that hanging breaking ball.
Now fastball fouled off. So Cobb went 5 innings today for the Orioles, gave up 4 runs. Only one of them earned, that air charge to Tim Beckham, leading to 3 unearned runs in the 4th inning. A rough couple of days for Beckham out at short for the Orioles. Pretty good battle here.
Yeah, he's making some good pitches, but Diaz, told you, he's seeing everything and he's on everything. That was a pretty good pitch right on the outside corner. Counts 1-2. Maybe you expand a little bit here. Maybe throw a slider off that or go in.
Now the fastball. And Diaz finishes it up with a line drive into center field for a base hit.
What an at-bat from Aledmys Diaz. He had the big game yesterday, the 4-hit game. In the eventual game winner, that 4-hit game was his 3rd career 4-hit game. He's had a hit already today. Now he gets a slider over the plate, and he doesn't miss that one. What was that, a 12-pitch at-bat?
11 pitches, 8 foul balls.
Okay.
And now 6 for 8 in the last couple of days for Diaz. You know, Diaz, another guy. We talk about Solarte playing a lot more for the Blue Jays than was expected. Same with Diaz. At that point, I mean, I don't know that anybody had a handle on Troy Tulowitzki's situation, but I think people thought at some point he would be back. If you go back to what we think we knew back in spring training, you know, Diaz was a guy who would play short until Tulowitzki came back. There's a base hit through the vacated right side for Maile. Diaz making the turn, heading for 3rd, and he will be out. Makes the 3rd out of the inning at 3rd base. That'll be all for the Blue Jays, and we are at the end of 6 here at Rogers Center. With the score remaining, the Blue Jays 4 and the Orioles 1. One more look on the 3rd out going to break.
To the Motor City to challenge Detroit's best. It's the Red Sox Tigers for you tonight on Sportsnet at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Your probables for this one, Dan Brian Johnson and Mike Fiers.
For the Red Sox now 5.5 games ahead of the Yankees, although the Yankees are leading the Mets this afternoon. So Jay Happ, congratulations to the All-Star. We will see Jay Happ here tomorrow in the final game of this series against the Orioles. He is the scheduled starter for the Blue Jays. 12:30 pregame show. First pitch just after 1. Blue Jays got a good start out of Sam Gaviglio last night. They're getting a good start out of Marcus Stroman here today. Bottom third of the order. Bullpen ready if needed. Stroman at 93 pitches heading into the 7th. And it is Sun Hyun Oh who is up for the Blue Jays. Was up briefly last inning. Got 1 out in last night's game. And the Blue Jays feel that if they don't overwork him, his stuff really plays up. That his stuff is quite a bit better.
That's why he wasn't sent back out there for that inning to finish it off. He just threw a third of an inning, picked up a strikeout. So he is up. If Marcus runs into any trouble this inning, he's there as the backup.
And interesting to see how John Gibbons may play this. If O is up now, obviously O would not close the game if it got to a save situation. Would Clippard go back out there to save a game? Would John Gibbons turn to Ryan Tepera? Would he turn to John Axford? Out of play. What do you think? Who, if it's a save situation, who do you think's getting it in the 9th inning?
Today?
Yes, yes, today.
You're putting me on the spot. I know. I would go to Ryan Tepera. Tepera looked pretty good yesterday.
I asked Tepera before the game, can you go back to back? Remember, he's coming off the DL last week, elbow thing. He says, I feel fine. I only face one batter. Now this is a couple hours before the game. He said, I haven't talked to them yet. I don't know how they feel, but I think I can do it. In a couple of weeks, of course, Roberto Osuna could be back, is scheduled to be back. Could regain the closer's role immediately, perhaps, if the Blue Jays want to play it that way.
Well, they've got plenty of options. They can turn it over to a host of guys if they want to over the next 2 weeks. And he can go, well, if there's a lefty up, I can use my lefties. Not just one guy. He might use 2 or 3 different guys. He has that option, if you will. Maybe not after tomorrow's game. I think they're going to make some roster moves after tomorrow's game. Maybe even before the game tomorrow with Gurriel, unless they bring in Gurriel and send down Urania.
And then Estrada would be the next day if he's healthy. Then you take a reliever off because they've got a 10-man bullpen right now. Swing and a miss. And Nunez strikes out 1 down. That's number 6 for Stroman.
It was also pitch number 100 on the afternoon, and he hasn't lost anything. It's a great movement on that fastball to get underneath that bat. Watch the movement inside, and Nunez can't come up with it. Threw it right by him.
Tabby, this is the first time that Marcus Stroman has thrown 100 pitches in a game this year. This is his 13th start of the season.
Last time out, he threw 95, but it was only 5 innings. The most that he has thrown innings-wise this year, he's done it 3 times, 7 innings. Minnesota, Detroit, and at Atlanta.
Another sign of improvement, that strike-to-ball ratio you just saw. He's walked 2, he's hit 1, but at times this year, walks have been a problem. Command has been a problem. It's not just the walks, it's mistakes in the strike zone, not being able to hit his spots as much as he would like. But, you know, yes, these are the Orioles. Yes, this is the 2nd worst offensive team in Major League Baseball, but I'm sure you'd agree that his command's been much better today than it's been typically this year.
Much better, and he's got his share of ground ball outs when he needed them. Big double play in that first inning to end that first inning. That was a huge play. And
Hernandez throwing out Scope at second too was a big play in that inning. That could have been 2-0, 3-0 before the Blue Jays came to bat.
You're right. But he's settled in since then. He's given him a very good effort.
1-2 to Joey Rickard. And another strikeout. Back-to-back for Stroman here in the 7th.
The radar gun said 92 on that one, but what was impressive was the movement again on that fastball. If it's 92, that's his fastball. It just drops. Look where Maley catches the ball. where Rickert swings at it, where Maile catches it right off the dirt. That shows you all kind of movement on that pitch.
So can Stroman to get through 7 full innings as he faces Austin Wynns, the catcher and number 9 hitter. Oh, ready if needed. Well, you said at the beginning of the show he's got to use the breaking ball a lot. He's got to have a good breaking ball to be effective.
He's got to get it. You know, the first inning he didn't have his breaking ball, and the hits that were given up were all on fastballs. He's going to have to find it, find the release point, use it effectively.
This one is lifted in the air to deep left center field. Grichuk tracking back, makes the grab. They go in order in the 7th, likely the end of the afternoon for Marcus Stroman. A strong outing, and the Blue Jays still have the lead.
Took the Manny Machado trade the hardest was his close friend Jonathan Schoop. Showalter said that Schoop went over to Machado's house on Wednesday and the two cried together. Quote, John was pretty down for a few days. According to Showalter, when he took Machado out of Sunday's ball game, he immediately looked over at Schoop to gauge his reaction. Schoop, with his shoulders slumped, hung his head, ball cap tilted back. You could just tell he knew what was happening. So in between innings, Showalter told me that he pulled Schoop to the side, told him he didn't want to see that kind of body language again. In a nutshell, Machado would not have looked like that if the roles were reversed, he told him. So essentially the message to Schoop, it's business, snap out of it, Dan, let's get back to work.
And it is a business, but these guys, you know, become friends. Sometimes they play together for years, like Machado and Schoop did, but everybody knew Machado was moving on. You know what? One day, maybe not this year, maybe next year, Schoop's moving on too, in all likelihood. Here's Tanner Scott into the game for the Orioles.
27 games this year for the hard-throwing lefty. One of those appearances against the Blue Jays, that was back on June the 8th. He threw an inning, gave up a couple of hits and a run in that inning versus the Blue Jays.
First batter he faces is Devin Travis. We would expect that Marcus Stroman's day has come to an end. 7 innings, over 100 pitches. Nobody is throwing right now, but that may be that O is kind of almost ready if he's going to come into the 8th. Marcus still in the dugout, as you can see. We did see him when he came in hug Luke Maile, which is kind of a sign that maybe he's done, but you never know. I mean, John Gibbons sent Sam Gaviglio back out for the 8th inning yesterday, but Gaviglio wasn't over 100 when he went back out at the 8th. Marcus is right now. Again, Penn's quiet, but again, that could be because O doesn't need that long to get ready if he's going to be the guy. And a good breaking ball down and in. Swing and a foul tip for Travis. 1 down.
Scott's got a good arm. He was a former 6th-round draft pick by the Orioles just 4 seasons ago out of Howard, Texas Junior College, and he signed for $650,000. Hard fastball, 96, and a nice little slider.
Amazing how many guys come from not just the big schools that are the typical baseball schools, junior colleges you haven't heard of. And Nate Pearson's a good example of a guy who didn't come from a big school. First round pick for the Jays a couple of years ago. Bright future in spite of the broken arm this year.
They are everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, if you start looking where guys went to school, there's a number of reasons for that. Late developing. They weren't very good in high school. They couldn't get the grades to get into some of those other schools. Junior college. They got third round money in the 6th round. Shows you what the Orioles think of them.
98. That's why they think that of him. One of the reasons. And O is back up. So got to believe that San Juan O will come in and start the 8th inning. But Stroman getting through 7. How many times this year back to back have the Blue Jays gotten consecutive starts of at least 7 innings? That hasn't happened very often. Boy, this is a good arm here on Scott. And this is where the Blue Jays don't have a right-handed bat, a right-hand hitting outfielder to go to on the bench. The only reserve outfielder right now is Dwight Smith. Otherwise, Granderson might be out of the game. Scott gets him 2 down.
Beauty Tone is the official paint of the Toronto Blue Jays. Only available at Home Hardware. Here's how.
Oh, that's bringing back memories. And they're not good.
I can't believe you and Buck did the edge walk.
That's what it looked like.
I mean, I've seen video of it, and I'm still not sure I believe that you did it.
Oh, we did it.
And we
I
did
still
it
have nightmares.
once.
Yeah, once is enough. But that's what it looked like, and that's what it felt like you were falling.
No thanks. Teoscar Hernandez 1 for 3, doubled and scored on a balk in the 5th inning. The balk charged to Alex Cobb, the Baltimore pitcher at the time.
Pretty good arm for a lefty. It's his birthday tomorrow. He's going to turn 24 years old, Tanner Scott.
And if you're an Orioles fan, you're just kind of grasping on to anything you can.
Sure.
Who can help going forward? And this guy looks like he can help going forward.
That's something that there's not a lot of in baseball. Left-handed relievers who throw this hard. Okay, I know Chapman is one of them, but he's in a class all by himself.
1-2 to Teoscar Hernandez, and he got him on a slider, and he strikes out the side. He strikes out Travis, Granderson, and Hernandez. End of 7. The Blue Jays up 4-1, and it looks like O's coming out of the bullpen. Rogers Blue Jays baseball partnership, and it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays baseball partnership. Randal Grichuk with a big RBI double today. Marcus Stroman with 7 strong innings, and the Blue Jays looking to make it 2 in a row over the Orioles. Take a 4-1 lead to the 8th inning with Xianhuan Oh into the game.
Came into the game to finish off the 8th inning last night. Struck out Danny Valencia. That's 13 straight appearances now where O has had at least 1 strikeout. Putting together a pretty good season now at 4-3 with a 280 earned run average. Just 10 walks this season in 45 innings to go along with those 54 strikeouts. Threw just 6 pitches in the game yesterday, so they can bring him back today.
Tim Beckham leads off the 8th for the Orioles. He is 2 for 3 on the afternoon. The sun has really broken through here in the last 5-10 minutes. It's a lot different now than it did through most of the day. Kind of a bit of a hazy, cloudy day for part of the afternoon, but as you can see, a lot of sunshine now. A little bit of shade out in deep center field. Little up and in. 2 balls and a strike on Beckham. Oh, with a contract for 1 year plus a team option, so they could decide to pick up the option and keep him next year, or of course they could look to trade him this year if the contending team is interested. Pick up a prospect. But this one could go either way. He's been a pretty effective pitcher this year, and it's a pretty reasonable contract next year at about $2.5 million.
And I would think a team that would want him would want some controllable years, to be this year and next year, that you get more than just a 2-month rental from him.
But if you get more, when you get that extra year, the Blue Jays ask for a little more in return if you're going to trade him. So. To center field, and Grichuk back into the shade, 1 down. Well, interesting situation when O comes into a game. When he comes in mid-inning, you know, John Gibbons comes out, makes a pitching change. O comes in, and O's interpreter, Eugene Koo, is allowed to be out on the mound with O when there's a coach present. Not sure why that is important, but that's the baseball rule. So when O comes in middle of an inning, Gibby's already on the mound. O and Eugene jog into the mound, and Eugene interprets between O and the catcher, whether it's Martin or Maley. But in this kind of a situation, when O comes in to start an inning, John Gibbons isn't on the mound. And because of that, Eugene is not allowed to go to the mound. So he's allowed to be an interpreter on the mound in a mid-inning pitching change because John Gibbons is there. He's not allowed to be one at the beginning of an inning because there's no coach there. If they wanted him to go out there, they'd have to send a coach out, and then they'd get charged with a mound visit, which they're trying to avoid. This came up in Atlanta, you were saying.
I think it was Atlanta.
Yeah, and that's when Tim Leeper got tossed, right? He was furious because Leeper and Gibbons contend, well, nobody had been enforcing it, and now they are enforcing it. As this ball is lifted down the line, and Smoke is there to make a nice play in foul territory, 2 down. So when you see O come in at the beginning of an inning, like he did right now, O goes to the mound, and Eugene jogs in for the bullpen straight to the dugout. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, either you should be allowed to have him on the mound or you shouldn't. It shouldn't matter, I don't think, whether or not a coach is out there.
Yeah, that might have been in that New York series here, because I remember talking to Leap about it on the plane down to Atlanta. I think that's what it was. And he was saying, well, they haven't enforced that rule all season long. At least we weren't informed of it. But now I think they're going to enforce it.
Yes, and the Blue Jays are going to abide by it. But that means that when O starts an inning, there's nobody to interpret out on the mound. But at this point, both catchers and O, there's enough common ground in baseball language that they can communicate with one another. O's English is limited, but they know each other pretty well.
Luke go out there to talk to him and raise both of his hands like, hey, don't you have an interpreter
Need some
here?
help. Yeah. Well, whatever they talked about, they got on the same page. He executed, and it worked. 3 up, 3 down to go the Orioles in the top of the 8th. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Jamie Campbell, Kevin Barker in the Samsung broadcast studio.
Jays. Come visit us at the Toronto Eaton Centre, Rogers Centre gates 1 and 5, and every in-stadium kiosk. For more information, visit jshop.ca or call 1-877-JSHOP. To the home half of the 8th, we go back up to check in with Dan Shulman and Pat Towler. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Hazel. And soon-to-be former Baltimore Orioles, Zach Britton is in the game. He's been one of the best closers in the game the last few years. Ruptured Achilles tendon in the offseason, just back recently. A little shaky when he first came back, Tabby, but really rounding into form right now.
Yeah, he's starting to build up that arm strength, and you're starting to see that bowling ball sinker now again from Britton. He's got basically one pitch. Here's my fastball. Great movement. Lots of ground balls, lots of swings and misses from Zach Britton.
4-1 Blue Jays, bottom 8. Justin Smoak the batter. Smoak 0 for 2 with a walk. And we were wondering who would close the game today if the Blue Jays had a lead in a save situation. Looks like Ryan Tepera is going to be the guy. Tepera only faced one batter last night and only threw 4 pitchers. Got it out. And they're ready with him now about a week off the DL to use him obviously in back-to-back ball games. Smoak, Solarte, and Grichuk here in the bottom of the 8th. You can just see the movement on that pitch. He couldn't throw a ball straight if he tried.
No. And that's, I think, his strength. Once he figured out the ability to get it. He was a former starter who battled some arm injuries, and they moved him into the bullpen, and all of a sudden he started throwing 97, 98 miles an hour with that kind of movement. Look, the catcher can't even catch it. It's moving so much. He has thrown shutout baseball over his last 7 appearances, covering 7 innings. So he's starting to get stronger, getting into shape. We were talking about that with Alex Cobb when he was on the mound, that he didn't have any spring training. Neither did Zach Britton. He was hurt.
Team scouting him though on a constant basis, seeing that he looks more like himself the last week or two, and he'll be somewhere by the end of the month. Austin, Atlanta. The guys with the clipboards, those are the guys to keep an eye on. They're the guys from other teams looking at people like Zach Britton.
Some of the things they are looking at, how well his arm looks. Does he look free in action? Is he favoring that leg? Does he still have the zip to that fastball and the movement?
Leadoff walk to Smoak. 2 years ago, Britton had 47 saves in 47 opportunities, did not blow a save, and had an ERA of 0.54.
Is that good?
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. But he didn't pitch in the biggest game the Orioles have had over the last couple of seasons. The wild card game right here.
Yep. Had he pitched, maybe there's no division series or ALCS for the Blue Jays that year. Here's Yangervis Solarte. Solarte is 0 for 3 on the afternoon. Ground ball down to third. Nice stop. Nunez to second one. Back to first in time. 5-4-3 double play. Drive of the game brought to you by the Honda Checkered Flag event. Check out their all-star lineup.
Blue Jays have not hit a home run, but they've had some good at-bats. Especially this one from Randall Grichuk as he slices that ball down the right field line. It's going to score a run and send him to second. The runner from first over to third. Getting the Blue Jays on the board as Justin Smoak comes around to score. Randall Grichuk with that line drive double this afternoon's drive of the game. That was just a great piece of hitting as he let that ball get deep and slices it to right field to pick up the RBI.
Wins is having a tough time back there, and you can't blame him. You talked about all the movement on Britton's fastball. It's It's hard to catch. Even if you've caught it before and you think you know where it's going.
Okay, if it's hard to catch, how hard is it to hit?
And it's 97.
Yeah.
It's not your typical two-seamer that kind of goes down and away a little bit from a right-handed batter. It cuts a little. It almost comes in a little bit, but it goes straight down hard.
And if you ask Zach Britton, how do you hold that, or do you know where it's going? He's not sure. He said it could cut sometimes, it could go straight down, it could sink sometimes.
This is the kind of guy who we could see deep in October in the 8th inning or the 9th inning, making a difference, changing the outcome of a playoff game or a playoff series for whoever gets it.
Teams nowadays are fortifying their bullpen by getting that second closer, that 8th inning guy who acts like a second closer.
Ground ball to short, big hop for Beckham, and Grichuk retired to end the inning. No runs, no hits, nobody left. On to the 9th. 4-1 Blue Jays. Here comes Ryan Tepera.
Presented by Honda. The Honda Checkered Flag event is back. Hurry in to grab the Civic that matches your game.
The Blue Jays are 3 outs away from their second consecutive victory. Ryan Tepera on looking for the save.
His last save opportunity came on June the 27th. That was down in Houston. Gave up a couple of runs in that third of an inning, then was placed on the disabled list the next day. He's made 2 appearances since coming off the DL in Boston, and then in yesterday's game, just a third of an inning, 4 hits. So he is looking for save number 7. Fine. 288 earned run average in 40 games this year for Tepera.
Mark Trumbo, Chris Davis, and Trey Mancini due up for the Orioles. Trumbo is 0 for 2 with a walk. 4 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Blue Jays. 1 run, 5 hits, and 1 very costly Tim Beckham error for the Orioles. In front of a crowd of 35,912 today at Rogers Center. Still turning out for a team that's had a disappointing year.
They love baseball.
Yeah.
It's great to spend the afternoon at the ballpark and watch baseball, be a part of this.
In the air to left center field. Grichuk a long run, and he got it! Grichuk makes the catch moments before crashing into the fence.
Throughout Blue Jay history, there have been some dynamic center fielders. Lloyd Mosby, Devon White, Vernon Wells, Kevin Pillar, and now with the injury to Pillar, Randall Grichuk is going to show off his talents, catching that long fly ball, crashing into the wall. Watch how he catches it, puts it up against his chest to hold on to it, to record the first out for Ryan Tepera.
Not bad for a guy who's played more right than center in the big leagues, but again played a lot of center, over 100 starts. I think that guy probably appreciates what he just saw from Randal Grichuk, who looks really comfortable out in the center.
You know what he can appreciate with that catch is how he gave up his body, and his body took the hit against the wall. Pillar's not afraid to go into the wall or into the grass, into the bricks, whatever it takes to make those catches, and Grichuk can do the same thing.
One less thing for the Blue Jays to worry about, shifting Grichuk over if they feel he can play a good center field. Easier to find a corner guy than the center fielder right now. Dwight Smith's the guy who comes up in the organization, but he's a corner guy. And they didn't hesitate at all in saying, hey, Grichuk's going to move over to center, and let's see what happens. And so far, better than so far so good. It's been really good for Grichuk.
Yeah, he's looked very comfortable out there. Gibby was talking about that before the game today, that feels confident in him. He looks comfortable. He takes good routes.
It's pretty fast, too.
He's faster than you think.
Yes. 2 down. Let's check in with Jamie. All right, Jamie, thank you. Try to avenge a defeat last night and move within 5 of the Red Sox pending the Boston-Detroit game tonight. Meanwhile, here the Blue Jays an out away from victory. Trey Mancini, the batter. Wow. Good slow breaking ball with a lot of movement there from Ryan Tepera. If it holds up, Marcus Stroman picks up the win. His 3rd of the season. Alex Cobb would fall to 2-13. And Tepera would earn the save. The Blue Jays haven't won often this year, doesn't feel like, Tabby, without hitting a home run, but they have not hit a home run here today, and on the verge of a 4-1 win. And we'll get a look at Jay Happ tomorrow in his first post All-Star game start. Fresh off picking up his first major league save in the All-Star game in Washington. Now to play.
You mentioned that about the Blue Jays not hitting a home run. I think coming into this game they had homered in 71 games. 5th most. At least 1 home run in 71 games. Trying to win a game without hitting a home run. That's been rare for him this year.
And many to their feet here at Rogers Center with the Blue Jays a strike away. Overthrew that one a little bit. Full count. If it continues, Nunez would be next. Did he go around the appeal? Yes, he did. Tepera with a couple of strikeouts in a 3-up, 3-down 9th inning. Got a great catch out in center from Randal Grichuk as well. Grichuk also contributing with an RBI double. Marcus Stroman with a very strong effort and some smiles the last couple of days that did not head into the All-Star break with a lot of smiles. They're coming out smiling a little bit more. As you can see, he definitely went around. That ends the ball game, and that's 2 in a row for the Blue Jays here in the second half.
And Ryan Tepera is healthy. That was the pitch that was giving him problems when he had to go on the disabled list with that elbow injury. Blue Jays only scored in 2 innings. They only needed that one. That 3-run fourth inning to win for the 8th time in 9 games against the Orioles this year. They've now outscored them 51-26 in those 9 games.
And we'll see you again tomorrow afternoon with Jay Happ on the mound as the Blue Jays go for the sweep. But first, back to Blue Jays Central. Once again, let's join Jamie Campbell and Kevin Barker.